Perfect. Okay, hi. Thank you all so much for coming. My name is Mary, and I am the chair, currently only chair. We usually have co-chairs, so right now it's just me, um, of our Revolution Howard County. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about and learn more about Columbia associations and village boards today. We have some excellent panelists as well as some other candidates who will give a few minutes to talk about why they're running, why they think these positions are important. And of course, we'll also cover some other projects that our Revolution Howard County has been working on. Yeah, I'm excited. And I think there we go. Okay, yeah. So overall agenda, I kind of just went over that. First, we'll talk about what our Rev HoCo has been doing. Then we'll have the panel. We'll have an opportunity for questions as well. Okay, yeah. So just for background noise mostly, we ask that people stay on mute if they're not talking. Yeah, obviously we're not here to harass people or like witness harassment or anything like that. So we just ask that obviously when you are asking questions or making comments or just saying anything in the chat that you're respectful. Okay, yeah, so these are our current steering committee members. Those who are here, I would love if you could introduce yourself. I see Kat first, if you would like to just do a quick introduction.
Okay, I'm Kat Wee. I'm one of the at-large members for our Revolution, Howard County. I was a former co-chair prior to Mary, and a former co-chair of our Rev Montgomery County as well. And I am here today as someone who's running for Columbia Association Board for Wildlife.
Yay, thank you. I see Francis next.
Hello, Francis here. Yeah, currently treasurer, previously other positions, and been with the group a while.
Thank you. Let's see. I see. It looks like we don't have. Oh, unless is this other ORMD? Is that Robert by chance?
Yeah, I don't see him here right now.
Okay. Um. Okay. Well, great. Um. I'm trying to decide. I feel like it's a small enough group. Why don't we have other folks also introduce themselves? I see two people here, but I see Judith Hayes as the name. If you'd like to introduce yourself, why you're here, what you're interested in.
Judith Hayes and Frank Hayes. We're trying to keep in touch with what is going on with our revolution. Luckily, I'm the mother of Francis and the mother-in-law of Kat, so they keep us very well informed, but joining these meetings is very important to us.
That's awesome. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Next, I see Alan Klein.
Hi, all. Alan Klein. I'm currently the Columbia Council CA Board representative from Harper's Choice and running for re-election. So happy to be here and happy to hear and contribute what I can.
Thank you so much. Glad to have you here. Next, I see Paulette, who is one of our panelists for the panel later. Go ahead, Paulette.
Hi, I'm Paulette. I live in Oakland Mills, and I recently ran for the village board in an uncontested race, and I won, so I'll be starting in May.
Thank you so much, Paulette. I see Karen next.
Hi, I am the current CA or Columbia Council. I want to make sure I say it like Alan did. The Columbia Council CA board member representing Oakland Mills. And like Paulette, my race this year was uncontested. So I automatically am the rep again next year for the term that starts in May.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen, for being another one of our great panelists today. Next, I see Jake. I don't know if you're able to unmute or not.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Sorry for the unflattering camera angle here. My name is Jake Burdett. I am the former co-chair until just today, actually, of Our Revolution Howard County. Stepped down temporarily because I am also co-campaign managing a Board of Education race for Our Revolution Howard County endorsed candidate, Rev HoCo, who we just endorsed at our March meeting last month. And the primary election is on Tuesday, May 14th, next month. And so I'm stepping away from Our Revolution for the next month to really go all in on that campaign. But we do have club elections next month. And so I do plan to hopefully, run again for co-chair next month. So it is just a temporary hiatus, but thank you, Mary, and the rest of the steering committee for holding it down in the meantime. Thanks.
Thank you. And we will also, I want to give you the opportunity to share a little bit more about Huri's campaign later as well. Just talk, because since that's kind of one of our bigger focuses at the moment. Okay, next I see, I'm so sorry if I pronounce this wrong. I see Manjula. We're doing introductions. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to go off mute and introduce yourself, just a little something about, where you live, why you're here, what you hope to learn today.
Hi, I'm Angela. Hey, I just I think participated something with your organization, and I got this email, and it had something related to schools, kids, and Columbia Association, and generally things happening, and so that's why I just joined, just to curious to know what's going on. Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. Thank you. Next I see is that Malik?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Hi guys. My name is Malik Mohammed. I was invited here by Jake Burdett. He kind of pestered me till I said yes, if I'm being honest. In all seriousness, I have worked with Mary and Jake and a few other members like Kat of Our Revolution for a while now, a few months, and I just kind of want to get a better understanding of the organization and see if there was anywhere else I could help out. So thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Malik. Okay. Okay, Carla. Hi, Carla, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, Mary. Yeah, I'm Carla Tevelo, and I've been involved with Our Revolution on and off for many years, and I'm here because I've been volunteering to help Kat win her race, and I've been involved with Karen's and her race last year, and I'm just here as a good observer and supporter of this organization and these people.
Thank you, Carla. Next, I see Joel.
Hi. I'm here because I got reminded about discussion of CA elections. I'm on the Harper Choice Board. And hear what Karen has to say.
Great, thank you so much. And last person I see here is Bill, if you would like to unmute and share. Potentially he's stepped away, but okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and I'm excited to get started. Yeah, so oh, okay. I guess I was hoping to have the descriptions, but I forgot to add them to the notes, quite honestly. So I just wanted to point out that, as Jake mentioned, next month, second Monday of the month, we will be having our elections. So these are the positions, that we are electing for. They are generally, what you would expect. There's probably like, nitty gritty stuff that is probably not even necessary to share at this point. However, if you are interested in any of these positions, please reach out either via chat or via email. I will put that up, or if anyone else has the ability to just drop the email in the chat really quick. Otherwise, I'll do that a little bit later. But yeah, we would love to have you run for any of these positions and get involved in our organization. Okay, so yeah, so I just wanted to share a little bit about recent efforts that the Howard County Our Revolution has been involved in. I guess the two main ones I think are rent stabilization and elections. As many of you may or may not know, we have been organizing around rent stabilization for like nearly a year now, from, testifying at county hearings to door knocking to drafting legislation, and nearly getting something passed. And now the group has really shifted to focusing on building tenant associations and things like that. So I wanted to give, I know that Paulette has been really involved in rent stabilization. Actually, I was going to ask her to just talk about that later during the panel. But essentially, it's a coalition, so there are multiple organizations that are working on this, and also primarily, tenants and just individual activists. So yeah, it's a great energized effort right now, and there's a great need for rent stabilization here. So if you would like to get involved in that, please let us know. Another major focus for our group right now is elections. Of course, every year is an election year, but as you know, this year is a big election year, both, locally all the way up to federal. So as a couple folks mentioned during introductions, we endorsed a couple of candidates for Board of Education, and I don't think we did official endorsements for Columbia Association, but we, have many of our network on the boards or running for the boards. So we have been, a lot of our members have been volunteering with campaigns, as you heard. And also, if you are not already volunteering and you would like to be more involved in that, definitely reach out to us and we can connect you with some campaigns that could use some help. So there's that. And then just like as an overview of some other things that we've been working on recently, One Fair Wage Maryland, we recently voted to join that coalition. Basically getting rid of the sub-minimum tipped wage in our state. It's a national effort, but we recently joined the Maryland Coalition. Oh, another one I forgot to write is the No Hindutva, which we also joined. That you can see that meeting on our YouTube. But yeah, so these are just a couple of the things that we've been working on recently. And like I said, we will share more about some of these things. Oh, if anyone from if Jake or Malik would like to share more about Huri's campaign and the needs there, now would be a good time to do that, or we can just move on.
Say it one more time. Sorry.
I was just saying, if we wanted to share more about the needs of the campaign, since we endorsed Huri recently, and like how people can get involved in if they're interested.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And yeah, I definitely do not mean to take the focus away from the very equally important Columbia Association elections happening on April 20th, I guess less than 2 weeks away now. And so definitely it is a little bit weird that there's two elections going on at the same time, around the same time with different election days. But yeah, Huri's election is Tuesday, May 14th, early voting, May 2nd through May 9th. Unfortunately, it's not a Blue Hour Revolution shirt, just a regular blue shirt. But early voting, May 2nd through May 9th, election day, Tuesday, May 14th. And so that means that there's just a little over a month until election day. It's the presidential primary. Huri is a very strong grassroots Rev value aligned candidate. He's helped with rent stabilization, most of the major initiatives that we've done over the past year and well before that. And he's really running on another big thing that our revolution's been very involved with ever since October 7th is pro-Palestinian organizing efforts. And yeah, I should have added here he's running in District 4 for the Board of Education, but which covers like Wild Lake Town Center, Fulton, Maple Lawn, Harper's Choice, River Hill, Hickory Ridge. But yeah, here he's running, very, very pro-Palestine. And so he's running against the incumbent Jen Mallow, who's taken a lot of developer money, has a lot of establishment Democrat support. And then also there's another challenger, Julie Kaplan, who's strongly pro-Zionist candidate, just got the endorsement of former Republican County Executive Alan Kittleman. And so she's got the Republican base of support. And so here he needs all the help that he can get. The fundraising numbers just came out for all the candidates. Proud to say here he out fundraised the incumbent using completely grassroots donations, whereas the incumbent got a donation from APAC endorsed or APAC backed State Senator Sarah Elfreth running for Congress. But the Zionist candidate was actually the candidate that raised the most, although here he was still close and competitive. And so this race is definitely winnable if Fury can make it through the primary. I think he's got a strong shot in the general. And so we're doing door knocking every single weekend from now until Election Day. We meet at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday at Mad City Coffee in Hickory Ridge. And so I'm going to drop the Google Forms if you'd like to sign up for door knocking. We usually pair people up, do trainings. If it's your first time, make sure that you're comfortable. And then we're also this week starting text banking and phone banking efforts. We're rolling that out, doing our first text bank tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. and our first phone bank on Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. And so we've got I'm going to drop the volunteer forms Google Forms in the Zoom chat here, and then also the donation link if you'd like to donate. But thank you.
Thank you. Yes, door knocking is such an impactful way to reach voters and turn out voters. So very important. And it's also important for the Columbia Association races. Wait, really quick. It looks like Malik is raising his. Do you want to add something, Malik?
Yeah, real quick, we also will be doing some text banking, I believe, in the future. Phone banking, definitely if you're interested in that as well, hit myself or Jake up. We will be more than happy to have you guys help out. Thank you.
Yes, text baking is also a great option for people who are like, oh, door knocking is not for me, which is understandable, but that's just another way that you can contribute in a less intense way. Yes, so thank you both. As I was saying, yeah, we will hear more from our CA board candidates, both on our panel and also after the panel, going to give some time to other candidates who are here to just share why they're running and why the Columbia Association and boards are important. So yes, but also, if you want to help any of them with door knocking, then also reach out to us and we can connect you. Okay. Oh yeah, and then other ways to get involved with our Rev, as as it's clear, there's a lot of focus on campaigns right now. However, we're also, working on forming some committees, and I just dropped that form in the chat. It lists committees that are either somewhat active or we want to begin. And it's just like a range of ways to get involved in issues that align with our Revolution's platform. So feel free to fill that out if you're interested in getting more involved in an issue-specific thing. And let's see. Yeah, I have the QR code here as well, where you can see our social media, our links to everything. So I'll put this up later as well, but if you want to check it out, here's how you do that. And I think we are about ready for the panel to begin. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to try to spotlight our panelists here. Let's see if this works. And cat. Okay. So I don't need a screen share for this part. Okay, everyone can see our panelists. Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited to learn more about the Columbia Association boards. So, yeah, I guess to start off, I know you all briefly introduced yourselves at the top of the call, but maybe if you can share, like a couple of the top issues for you or something else that, you didn't share at the beginning of the call, feel free to take a minute to do that. We can start with Paulette.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I have you on two devices just in case, because my Wi-Fi is not that great over here.
Thank you, Paulette.
Um, well, I guess basically, just the need for there's a need for more tenant representation and more black and brown representation. So that's basically something that I didn't share that I feel needs to be shared right here. Something that I did. Is it an echo?
I got it. It was someone else's device. We got it though. We're good. Go ahead.
And I think that when I ran and it was uncontested, that basically, proved it showed that there's a need because I didn't even know it was a such thing as elections or anything like that, or a need for tenants to vote on anything or any of that stuff. And I've been in Columbia since 2009, so I don't know why I did it. I had no idea.
Right. Yeah,
And
thank you.
basically,
So, yeah, go ahead.
it's because of the rent stabilization coalition is how I know about it.
Yes, perfect. And we will come back to that more in other questions, but thank you so much, Paulette. Karen, if you want to share something about yourself, just a further introduction.
Sure. I guess the reason I want to do this, is that what you're looking for, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, just generally, like, just about you, really. We'll get into kind of the issues a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I had always intended, as I got closer and closer to retirement and I started to have more free time, one of my things that I really want to do is get more involved in politics, especially locally. 2016, I think that was kind of a keystone election for a lot of us to really pushed us. So it pushed me out the door even sooner than I thought. And I was like, I really need to be involved. I need to be paying attention. So I started getting involved with a bunch of groups. In fact, I really wanted to join the Columbia Democratic Club, but I couldn't find anything online about them, couldn't find anything about when they were meeting. There seemed like there was no information. And one of my friends said, you should come be in the Ellicott City and Western Howard Club. So I was like, okay, because I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be involved. So even though I didn't live out there, it was a really good opportunity to get to know folks who live in that part of the county. And my very first campaign was for Barbara Mikulski. When I was really young, I was in my 20s, and I had to buy a lot of Scotch tape for that campaign. They sent me, I was the gopher a lot of times, But when I really felt like I was making a difference was in 2018. I think I've got the year right, when I knocked on a ton of doors for Dan Medinger, who was running for state delegate in 9B. And I really liked it. I like knocking on doors. I like talking to people, finding out what they think, and just having conversations at the door with them, sharing information, and, just in general, encouraging them to get out to vote. And so I have been knocking doors for so many candidates since 2018, and, phone banking for federal candidates and texting and things like that. But I think my favorite is probably door knocking. In 2022, I spent a lot of time knocking on doors for county council candidates, um, some who did great and some who just missed. And then, of course, last year I knocked on a lot of doors for my own candidacy for the nonpartisan position on the Columbia Association Board of Directors. So that's just a little bit about me. And it's really, at the end of the day, what I really want is fairness. I want to, like, I'm super excited that Paulette's going to be on the Oakland Mills Village Board. I think, I'm glad to see that she's getting involved, that she's learning about this stuff. It makes me sad that, like, she didn't know about this. I'm like, how have we done such a poor job of making sure that all our residents know how to participate? And I've been saying this for a while, is that we have a very shallow bench right now when it comes to people who are getting involved. Mary, there tend to be people who, like, are your age, and then there are people who are retired and older who are involved, but that we're missing. We've got a huge gap of people in those middle ranges who aren't getting involved. And some of it may just be that they're so busy and so overwhelmed, but some of it may be that they just don't know. So one of the things I want is to see more and more people get involved, hear more voices. So
Thank you so much, Karen.
thank you.
And Kat, if you'd like to share a little bit more about yourself.
Um, basically, I honestly didn't know how important CA was until some people convinced me that it is. I also used to live in apartments, and I had no idea that I could even vote for that, didn't know what it was. No one ever said one thing about it. We didn't get ballots in the mail, et cetera, et cetera. So the first I really understood about it was when my husband was asked to run. And that's Francis, who's on this call. And then we door knocked him all over the place. And the decisions that are being made affect everyone, including people who are in apartments. Unfortunately, a lot of apartment people don't even know about this. They don't reach out and try and make it easy for you to vote. You have to bring your lease in. You have to jump through all these hoops in order to vote if you are an apartment dweller. Hence, if you look at who ends up voting, hardly anyone who lives in an apartment ends up voting for this stuff. And that means they don't have a voice. And that's really, really bad, because people need to get active. They need to have a voice because decisions are being made about your environment. There are crazy stream restoration projects going on that end up destroying your environment, and everyone needs to know about this. And these decisions are being made by what we think is like, oh, it's just the pools and the gyms. No, it really isn't. So this is why I am running, because I know important decisions are being made by someone who really doesn't care about the residents right now. And so the residents need a voice. And so hopefully I'll be that voice.
Thank you so much, all of you. Okay. Yeah, I feel like we mostly, covered why you got involved in your introductions, but I will give you all, like, if you wanted to, if you feel like you didn't cover that in your introduction, give you a chance to just say exactly, why you were running, although I do feel like you kind of covered that. Paulette, if you wanted to add anything about the reason you chose to run. Okay. Karen or Kat? Okay. Yeah, I feel like we covered that one. Okay. So I wanted to ask, this was a suggestion from one of our steering committee members. In your opinion, what are the 3 biggest problems facing Columbia today? And we can start with, I'll start with Kat this time on the other end.
Gave me the hard one. I think one is there's a lot of what we call not equitable treatment of people who live here. I feel like they are the people who are homeowners who can afford everything we have to offer. And then there are people kind of in between, like me, who don't join some of the Columbia stuff because it's kind of costly. And I think, well, I can use my money better some other way. And then there are people in apartments who are like struggling to make rent, which is why I also was involved in rent stabilization. And so how are they going to afford to go to the pool or this or that or the other? And it's not equitable. And that's a huge issue because all of our services should be equitable. All the residents should be using them. It shouldn't be just for people who are non-residents who have money to throw around. And that's what's happening right now. The other is rampant development, I would say, in Columbia, where we're just building every which way. And a lot of this is not affordable housing. They keep saying, oh yeah, we're going to put affordable housing in there, and then it never happens. And that also makes it inequitable because how are people supposed to afford these rents? They're putting some things up on 108, starting at 3,300. I mean, that's more than my mortgage. I do not know who's living there. So that's, I would say, one of the second big things that happens in Columbia. And I guess the third one would be that the county has this situation where they say they don't have money for this, that, or the other, including education and schools. Yet they have money to put up $143 million library. It's what they're choosing to use the money for. And we should be caring about our kids. Students should be way more important than putting up a brand new library when we already have a perfectly good one. So it's that kind of waste that I see going on in Columbia. And I'll let it go over to Karen.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kat. So the CA board really has a power to do three things. They set the budget, they set the strategy, they set policy. And so those are actually really, those are a big deal, right? So Alan, I'll try not to bore Alan because he hears me say this all the time. 60% of the revenue that CA collects comes from the residents. They should be the priority in everything. The Columbia Association was created for the residents. Now, in order to maintain our tax exempt status, when you're a 501c4, everything has, you can't restrict your stuff. So I can't tell people they can't use the paths. I can't tell people they can't use our pools. I can charge them to use our pools. If they're not a lien payer. But CA was created for the residents. And it just seems to me that over the past many years, there seems to have been this shift away from wanting CA to do things for the residents, and we seem to be doing more and more things for non-residents. And an example of that is what Kat touched on. Only 25% of the residents participate in any of the programs or facilities that Columbia offers. And I think that's a huge problem that needs to be resolved. Why is that? We need to find out. I don't personally know the answers. I don't know why they're not participating. One is probably definitely they can't afford it. Maybe they don't know it's there, but everyone, whether you're a renter or a homeowner, you either pay the lien directly or you pay it indirectly through your rent. We're subsidizing these facilities. So we've got 3 gyms, we've got 23 pools, we've got an equestrian center, we've got tennis courts and all these really neat things that I want to make sure everyone's participating in, but I need to find out why they're not. And maybe is it competition, whatever it is, but that I would say would be one of the number one things I would be looking at. Number 2 is Columbia Association cost efficient? Are we doing a good job managing money? So I'm also concerned by the fact that I don't know how many people are familiar with Reston. Reston is a community very similar to Columbia. It's in Virginia, built about the same time. Not as big as us. We have about 100,000 plus residents. Reston has 65,000. They run about 15 pools. We run 23. It costs them $100,000 less per pool to operate than it does us. They're paying our lifeguards, their lifeguards rather, very similarly, I think $17 an hour. So why is that? How come Reston has pools that are so much cheaper to run than our pools? What are we doing differently than Reston? Is there too much overhead? Did we just build funky pools? I can't believe that's a truth. And in fact, Reston has even been modernizing their pools. And this year, Reston will give their residents access to their pools for no additional cost for all of their residents in good standing. So if you were a renter, if you were a homeowner, and you live on assessed property in Reston, you get to go to the pool for no extra charge. It's included as part of your annual charge. So I would like to know more about that. I think the third challenge facing CA is something that, we kind of don't know how it's going to, what's going to happen. But the CA Board of Directors has been actively engaged in the process of hiring a new president. So that's going to be our third challenge, is bringing on a new president after the term starts and getting them acclimated, getting the board introduced to the new president, starting to build those relationships. So we're kind of in a transitional period right now, coming off what Alan likes to refer to as the troubles, and then moving into this new era with a new president, which I'm actually pretty excited about. I'm feeling very hopeful about that part, and bring this person on to now solve those other two problems that I already talked about. So if I had to pick the three, those would be them.
Thank you, Karen. And Paulette, go ahead.
Honestly, I don't know. The only thing that I do know about is the high rents.
That is incredibly important. It is incredibly important. It is not affordable to rent here. So yeah, thank you. Oh, did you want to share? We didn't touch on like tenant associations. Did you want to talk more about what the coalition has been doing? Or do you want to do that? Yeah.
So, uh, so basically, there was a bill that failed or something like that, that
Yeah.
Calvin Ball made sure that it died or something like that. So we're basically trying to see if we can get or form a tenants association, see if we can get more people involved and try to explain what a tenant association does. I honestly don't know everything that a tenant association does, but this Thursday, I think we're going to meet at the Dunkin' Donuts at the Village Center, and we're going to do some door knocking, and we're going to start right here in Autumn Crest where I live at, and try to get people involved and see like what their issues may be, and see if we can get them to either start going out door knocking with us or also join Howard County rent stabilization meeting.
Yeah, from what I understand, tenant associations are almost similar to like a union for tenants for their specific like complex. So just kind of like exercising a lot of rights that tenants are often kind of like the rights that get taken from tenants a lot. So yeah, basically the goal is to empower residents who don't know about a lot of like who don't even know tenant associations are an option, like who don't know the rights that they have as tenants and are being taken advantage of by landlords or other entities. And definitely, after the first bout of trying to get a rent stabilization bill passed here, it's clear that we need to really overwhelm everything with just tenants who do care about this issue and can show up and say that it's super important to them. As we were saying, it is not affordable to rent here, especially if you're a single parent, especially if you're like a single income household, like so many different things that just make it impossible. And it's really affecting a lot of tenants. So thank you. And Jake just put in some information. Oh yeah, if you're interested in joining for the door knocking that Paulette mentioned, Jake put the details in the chat. So great. Okay. Yeah, so you kind of touched on this in your last answer, Karen, but I wanted to ask, since you are the one of the three panelists who have been on one of the boards, in your experience, what actions or responsibilities do the boards do well, or the Columbia Association in general, and what ways do they fall short, especially in terms of systemic inequality, as a lot of us have been mentioning throughout the panel so far.
Are you specifically asking about systemic inequality, is how we do that well and how we do that bad? Is that what you want to focus on?
No, just in general, like kind of informational, a lot of people don't know about the Columbia Association at all. So like, what are
Okay.
some things that you feel like they perform well in general?
I think that the Columbia Association, one of the things that everybody loves are the pathways. I do think that like that would be, and most of the residents tell us when we reach out to residents that they love the pathways. And I know that when I talk to friends and neighbors and things like that, a lot of people, myself included, have never wanted to move away from Columbia, even though Columbia is so expensive. We'd rather live someplace, live in a smaller accommodation. I could probably, I mean, not now since a pandemic, but pre-pandemic, you could buy probably a much bigger house in a much different area, but you wouldn't have the pathways. You wouldn't have these great open spaces that we enjoy so much and these play areas. And having grown up in Columbia, I mean, I lived at the pool as a little kid. I ran through the woods, I played in the creeks, rode my bike on the pathways, and just the other day I was walking my dog on the path, and there were a bunch of kids in the creek, and it was really nice to see kids in the creek without their parents for a change, which is how it was when I was growing up. You just kind of, you went outside and you got to play. So I was glad to see them doing that and enjoying themselves, looking for all the different stuff that lives inside our creeks and running through the woods. So I do think that when it comes to open space and pathways and things like that, I think that that is kind of the jewel in the crown, as it were, for Columbia. Um, and I also think that, from my experience of being on the board, I think when it comes to things like diversity, equity, inclusion, what I'm really impressed with is how invested everyone is in that people are really conscious of making sure that it's part of, it's not just, it's our way of life, that everyone belongs, right? And that's kind of interesting to me, is that the B has been added now to the end of DEI. It's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I really like that. In fact, in our strategic plan, I'm not quite satisfied with the strategic plan just yet, but in one of our meetings maybe a month or so ago, when we first started looking through the strategic plan, the board really wanted diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to be embedded, not just as a sentence saying we do this, but as in, if I'm going to change something or do something new, that this is part of my decision making. So I do think that I do think that the Columbia Association really bends over backwards on that particular one. I don't know. I mean, I can't give them a grade because I don't see them from A to Z all the time. I only see sometimes just the periphery. Things that I did find frustrating is it does seem like, even though they bend over backwards on what I just talked about, it just seems to me that when the pools got closed last year, when they had a lifeguard shortage, that the pools that got tackled were Longfellow, Talbot Springs, and Dasher Green, which serve some of our less advantaged communities. And I thought, why are those the three pools that we're choosing to close? Could there be other decisions? Why was it those three? I was very frustrated that, like, how come Hobbit's Glen is never on the list? And I have personal experience that pool is never crowded. So it's those kinds of decisions that I also would question. So when it comes to that type of thing, but I think that CA has a very diverse staff, and I'm very impressed by that. I'm trying to think of other things they do well. There's great programs, and I want to talk about how great these programs are, but it's really hard for me after what I said earlier. We have this great summer swim league, and it's got a lot of participation and it's a lot of fun. But if only 25% of my residents are participating on swim team, and I want to say this is something great that we do, is it that great if all my residents aren't doing it? So I think we do some things, we're really good at putting on programs. We're not so good at making sure that the residents are included and can afford and want to participate in those programs. So I'd like to see you do a better job with that.
Thank you. If anyone else wants to add anything, you can. I know that you may not have the same perspective. being off or not being on a board just yet.
Mary, I just want to point out, Alan Klein is on the call and he's also currently on the board, so.
Yes, yeah, we were gonna give other board members slash, candidates the opportunity to speak on these things. And I wanted to do after the panel so that they could also touch on some of these questions that we're asking the panelists. Thank you.
I would like to add one thing that
Yeah.
I think not incredibly equitable with my opponent, who doesn't want to communicate easily to people. He could send out an email, he could have a website, he could do all kinds of things to reach out to our community and our residents. Instead, he insists that you either show up, I think, at Starbucks or Whole Foods on a Sunday morning. Not terribly convenient for everyone. Some people don't have transportation. Some people don't want to spend their money at either of these places. And some people have other activities with their families in the morning. Some people are working. I worked yesterday all day long. And I don't understand why you're not making it as easy as possible for people to get information. And so that's something I have offered. I literally on all my flyers have my email and my cell phone number, this cell phone that I hold, not some other phone, my regular phone that my kids have the number to. I want all our residents to be able to get a hold of me when they want to. And so I think that's something we need to think about. Make things as easy as possible for people.
Thank you, Kat. Okay, so next question. For those interested in joining a board, if anyone wants to speak to how much time investment is to get elected, and then maybe Karen, if you could speak on the time that it takes to be involved and on the board.
Yeah, so this past term, which is going to end at the end of the month, has been incredibly busy because of some of the activities that there was some cleanup from the previous year. And then the hiring of the new president required a lot of time. What I will say is that, the board members, the packet comes out, it gets published on Friday nights, the Friday night before the meeting. There's a lot of information in the packet. You do have to put some time in reading what's in there and trying to absorb it. So if there's votes or discussion that you can participate. One of the things that I am lucky enough to have is a lot of friends and acquaintances who are also looking at that packet who will tag me during the week. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that? So it helps because I get some other perspectives before I go into the meeting on Thursday. You can also encourage people to come to a resident speak out if they have a particular point of view, say, come tell us what you think. Would love to hear from you. So, but yeah, there is definitely some effort required. I think next year, the next term could be a little bit quieter. I don't want to guarantee that because you never know what could happen, but I think this past year, it just feels like there's just been a ton of meetings and so that's not the norm. That's not the norm.
Okay. Kat, did you want to maybe speak to the investment in getting elected?
Oh, wow. Every weekend we've been going out every Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes I'll go out on Friday, just do follow-ups. I come home from work and I'll do follow-ups. So, yes, I don't sleep anymore, pretty much thinking about everything I have to do. And thankfully, about 4 or 5 people have been helping me on a regular basis. And there's a lot going on in my household right now. But yeah, it's a lot of work to try and get elected if you really want to go up against an incumbent because they already have all the contacts and they know all the people. So, you really do need to talk to people and get out there and get your name out there.
Thank you. Okay. One of the last questions I have here is, what is the best way for people to keep up with board activities and Columbia Association activities? Does anyone want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll try first. I personally, I do a newsletter for the folks at Oakland Mills. It's called Board Notes, and one did not go out in March because my plate has just been too full, but I'm working on trying to get out in the next couple days. But I try to send out a regular newsletter to everybody, just telling them what's going on, has a little bit of local feel too. I'll tell them what's going on in the community, and so it's kind of nice to be able to communicate that way. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Not everybody wants to do a newsletter. But it is really the best way that you can find out what CA is doing is the meetings are all streamed live. And those videos are on YouTube. So you can go and watch a video of that anytime you want. The meeting minutes, all the everything that was in the packet is always online and available for residents who want to look at that and have any questions. So that's a good way to get informed. Sadly, we live in a news desert. We don't really have good coverage. Although I understand Zeke Orlinski is really enjoying himself down in Florida, having sold the flyer to the Sun, and now the flyer is completely defunct, which is too bad. But yeah, that I think that really the best way to find out information is if you're on the Columbia Association board or any other board, is if the person who you've put on that board is communicating regularly to you in a way that you find helpful, whether it's in person or through a newsletter. Right now, that is the best way to find out information.
Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I've been watching the meetings, the recorded meetings, and some of them, well, most of them are like 4 hours long, so it's a huge investment. It is definitely doesn't feel like must-see TV. It's long. But that's the only surefire way to know what's going on for the most part, is just to suck it up and watch it. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm not sure how I'm gonna fare being in those meetings I don't know how you guys sit down for that long. It's at home, I can walk around, but we'll see how that goes.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, so I just wanted to, before we hear from some other candidates who are here, if any of you would like to share kind of a last like takeaway for folks about Columbia associations, about, how they should get involved or anything like that, feel free to share that. We good? Okay. I think we feel that we've said our piece then. Okay. Thank you so, so much. We will share some links for you all to get involved with your local boards and to keep up to date with that in our next email. So thank you. And if I could get a quick hand raise of any CA board candidates who are here who would like a few minutes to share about why they're running. I see Alan, Bill,
Excuse me,
anyone
I don't see a
else?
place to hand raise.
Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, was that Bill? I don't know who just said that. Was
Yes.
that Bill? Okay, I see your hand, your real actual hand. So that's good. Okay. Anyone else? Bill and Alan. I don't see any other hands. Okay, feel free to put in the chat if I missed you. But thank you so much. Yes, thank you to our panelists. I will remove your spotlight so you don't have to do that anymore. Thank you. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if Alan, you would like to share, and then we can go to Bill.
Sure. Thank you all. I apologize in advance. I would love to have been part of more meetings of this group, been part of a couple, but somehow you always manage to have your meetings during times when I'm involved with family or other kinds of activities. Yeah, I think that in some ways, the biggest problem impacting Columbia right now that CA can do anything about. I mean, it's a lot of things, there are issues that are more county issues, is the fact that we're victims of our own success. When Columbia was created, and through the first couple of decades, people came to create a wonderful place, a place that had particular values and principles and intentions. And now people come to live in that wonderful place. And those are two completely different kinds of energy, two completely different kinds of attention, two completely different ways of holding the community or the sense of community. And so it's unfortunate, but it unfortunately doesn't surprise me that people like you, Paulette, weren't aware of what's going on, because it's sort of taken for granted. It's the background. Weren't aware of the opportunities you had. And that's compounded, of course, by the fact that, as Karen has already said, renters get obstacles put in their path to participation, not the least of which is because I remember even as a candidate when I ran for county council, Democratic county council nomination, to get into an apartment building to talk to people. You can't. I mean, there's security, and there's good reasons for the security, but it's not as, to put a leaflet in everybody's mailbox. It's hard to do. So, as I said, Columbia was created on a set of values and is hopefully continuing to live by that set of values. And in many ways, CA is the organization best situated to support those values, to promulgate those values, to continue to develop them over the next 50 years. And that's really, for me, the ground on why I got involved with CA. The specific issue, which unfortunately is still an issue, is the question of Symphony Woods, that I actually ran because the year before CA gave a perpetual easement to a private corporation to run Symphony Woods, a corporation that doesn't have to be accountable to the people, that doesn't have anybody elected on it. Although CA has a couple of representatives to their board. And really it took our Central Park and turned it over to a private corporation, and that's really problematic. And the last thing I want to say is that the other issue that CA grapples with, and it's a subset, Karen, of what you talked about, is that besides what the budget is the overall question of what do we think, we as the representatives of the people, think everybody in the community ought to share in the cost of, and what should the users of the services pay for? And that's a perpetual question, but it's a question we have to answer every year as we create the budget. Should every resident be supporting my ability to, I don't play golf, but if I did, should every resident be supporting my ability to go play golf at Hobbit's Glen? I don't think so. Should every resident be supporting the community, everybody in the community's ability to use the pools in the summer? I do think so. And then there's all kinds of other things that we have to make decisions about. So those are why I'm running. Those are the issues as I see it. And if there's anybody who'd like to offer any campaign support, host a yard sign, do some leafleting, I'd be happy to have you here in Harper's Choice.
Thank you so much, Alan. Yeah, if you would like to get involved with Alan's race, with any of the races that we've talked about today, please, send us an email, drop something in the chat, we'll get you connected. So Bill, you can go ahead and share on your campaign. I think you're muted right now, so okay, there you go. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Good evening. I don't know what you can see because I can't see me either. There are many, there are about four. Okay, there are about 4 reasons I'm running, but I think if I home in on what value I can bring to the table, I think that will help. Alan brought up about the finances of CA. CA is a relatively small company, basically. It's only about $75 million a year and about 1,500 employees at the maximum during the year. I've managed much bigger companies and federal agencies than that. And I've looked through their budget, not this year, but in prior 2 years ago, and I found that they were losing about almost $7 million a year on their facilities. And that if we could make them be more cost effective, or even eliminate or sell some of them, we would be able to provide services to our community for no more money than they pay for their assessment, their fee. Everybody that I talked to on Sunday when I was out canvassing said the same thing. They feel like they don't get any real value for the fees that they're paying. Most of them pay over $1,000 a year and they get nothing for it. They have to pay another $1,000 a year for their children to use the pool. So I think that we can go in there, and I know how to do this. I'm presently on I've been on the audit committee for the National Academy of Public Administration for the past 5 years. I was on the NASA audit committee for 4 years, got them back their clean audit opinion that they'd lost. I've been a director with KPMG, one of the big 4 accounting firms, been the CFO of the Coast Guard, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and Amtrak. I know how to go through a budget, and I know how to go through expenditures and find out where the money is. We heard earlier from Karen that we spend $100,000 a year for each pool more than Reston does. That is illogical. That doesn't make any sense. The chemicals should cost the same. The help should cost the same. There is no reason for that. It seems to me that we need to have a board that will ensure that not only is the association transparent in what it does, but it's giving value for the dollars that the residents are giving them. And even renters, we talked about renters earlier, renters are paying fees also. They just may not realize it because it's included in their rent, but they have skin in the game. And I want to make sure that 100% of the people have the ability to use the facilities and not limited to only the 25% that can afford it. When we first moved here 50 years ago, practically everyone belonged to the pools because there was nothing else here for the kids to do during the summer. But now hardly anybody does, and I'm concerned, why are we shutting down pools in the summer? I think that we could probably make some kind of agreement. If we can't make it free, we can certainly make it less expensive, and perhaps we can team with the Parks and Recreation people in the county to do something about getting folks vouchers or something. But we have no reason to make this an exclusive gated community. I'm also running because I think that their stream restoration is really deforestation. They are just tearing the hell out of our community. The trees, the 2,000 trees that they want to take down will take 35 to 50 years to replace. That's if everything goes well. And so I think that we need to relook at that and make sure that if the CA is going to do anything with their property, they get the residents, if not approval, at least input. Right now, they feel like they don't have to ask anybody anything. If I want to cut down a tree in my yard, I have to get permission. They want to cut down 2,000 trees. They don't feel that they have to talk to anyone. So that's why I'm running. I need support. I was fortunate to have this weekend 5 helpers to go out and help me give out literature, but we're running out of runway. Our election is on the 20th. Many people will have already voted before then by mail or online. So if anybody wants to help, please either contact Jake or Karen if you don't have my contact information, and I'm sure they'll get the information to me. Any questions?
Bill, I missed it. Which village are you running in?
I'm running in Owen Brown. I'm sorry. I just assumed
Okay,
I
thank you.
just assumed everybody knew.
And who, do you know who your opponent is?
Oh, yes. Michael Galibersach.
No. Thank you.
Yes.
The 20th of what month? This month or next month?
This month. The 20th is election day, 9 a.m. to 12. Tomorrow night, we have a candidate forum at 7 p.m. at the Owen Brown Village Community Center. It won't be very well attended. Our last election last year, the candidate got the most votes, got 140 votes.
Yeah, I just want to say, thank you, Bill and Alan, everybody else for stepping up and running. I just really want to say the guy that Bill is running against, if he gets elected, it's really going to be a disaster for the Columbia Association. This guy is a bully. He is a propagandist who constantly puts out misleading information into the community about what's going on, and who is on the right side of justice, and who's serving special interests. And this guy that Bill is running against is definitely on the side of special interests, and he's a skilled propagandist. I'll give him that, but that's also what makes him dangerous. And so thank you, Bill, for running, and Alan, thank you for I know it's not easy after all what you all went through the last couple of years. I'm sure Ginny Thomas here could attest to that as well. And so thank you for sticking it out and not giving up. And I hope you all win. And I encourage others to get involved with that in addition to Curious Board of Ed race that I plugged earlier. Thanks.
Ginny said she misses all the meetings.
Yeah, and all the people who had such lovely things to say at the resident speak outs and whatnot too. Sure.
Right, Karen, I really do.
Thank you all so much. We can try to answer a couple of questions. If anyone has questions about CA board, we clearly have lots of knowledgeable folks here. If you want to know anything that we did not cover in our panel today. I feel like we've had a few questions in the chat, but it seems like people have been responding to them. One thing that I will add is the link to where you can vote. There are links for where and how, not all villages are having elections, as you heard, because they're not all contested. So some of them, depending on where you live, you may not be able to vote in your village, but I think you should be able to view that from the link I just put in the chat. And as I said too, we will share more information in our next email after this meeting.
Hey, Mary, can I just say something? You've got, for the CA Board of Directors, you've got the 3 critical races here in front of you. Alan's race, Kat's race, and Bill's race. Those are the 3 council reps. I don't know, I think some of the village boards did not get any candidates. I know Walled Lake and Owen Brown, for their open village board seats, they did not get candidates. Oakland Mills squeezed through. Thank goodness for Paulette. We got Paulette and one other person, so we do have enough members for our village board this year. But that is a great way to get started. If people want to be on a village board, Walled Lake and Owen Brown could certainly use some folks. So if you know anyone who's interested in getting involved in their community, like I referenced earlier, we have a very shallow bench. It would be nice to see some people, and village board is a lot less onerous than being on the CA board. It's not that there aren't issues and things like that. Like sometimes a village has issues happening that can make their village boards be very active. Hickory Ridge is kind of in that spot right now. I know that the Oakland Mills Village was several years ago, but right now, like, I don't think Walled Lake has any major issues, and Oakland Mills isn't. We've got we don't have any major issues impacting us, so it's a good time to get in there, learn how everything works, talk to folks.
Thank you, Karen. Joel asked here, if the lakefront library is not constructed, CA will have no parking for the lake. How should CA advocate with the county council regarding the library and parking? If anyone wants to share their opinion on that, feel free.
Joel, could you say a little more about why you think one follows the other?
Joel, oh yeah, there you are.
I
Okay.
have to turn off things. Because if Howard Hughes builds their approved apartment building, they're gonna have control over parking in their apartment building. And what I keep bringing up at all the library meetings is the black hole of what Howard Hughes has plans for the Copeland deck. If the library's built, because they're gonna have to not only have parking for their tenants and the lost parking from the American City lot and the shoppers and people who come to the lake. But CA's left out of all that calculation, it seems, under the county regulations. So I don't know how we got into this position. CA parks at the legesse of Howard Hughes. So one of my points dealing with the cost is that a lot of the parking is not for the library and it's not for Howard Hughes, it's for CA and for the community.
Well, and in a lot of ways, Joel, that's sort of how it's always been. I mean, even when CA had our offices on the lakefront, we were renting the space. It wasn't ours. There was no guarantee of any parking. And I think, I don't know that I agree necessarily. I'm not familiar with the inner workings enough, but I don't think CA is left out. I do think CA needs to make sure our voice is heard. But I think the county is pretty well aware of the value that CA brings through the lakefront activities and the lake itself to Columbia and to the county. And I think we ought to be paying attention.
Has said and reminded the lawyers in his questionnaire. Joel, I don't like the implication that we are being blackmailed and you find that acceptable. That's outrageous in my opinion. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but that's certainly the way it sounded to me. We need to fight for parking for not just CA, for the public downtown, and the public that attends Lakeview, lake events are from all over. They are not just Columbia. We are paying to entertain people from all over Howard County. In fact, at some points regional. So the county executive has to be very strong on the parking that's allowed in, say, apartment buildings must be available. And they do that with some of the, what is it, MedStar building or, other things where you can park. There's sections where you can park. So that has to be made clear, like the first floor is parking for the public. The mall, maybe there should be a shuttle bus from the mall. But the thought of approving this library at that expense in order to be blackmailed into 5 parking spaces, that's a gross exaggeration. But I think we'd be out of our bloody minds, and anybody that says that's the reason for approving it should be embarrassed about saying that. I apologize, Joel, but if that's where you were going, I respectfully think it's bullshit. So thank you.
Well, no, I think the cost was too high and I investigated how to cheaper parking garage. But there was assumption that it was for Howard Hughes, and it's not really. They have to build the parking for the library. And if, as part of those discussions with the county, that Howard Hughes has to put their parking at the Copeland deck for their tenants, then some of the cost for the library parking lot gets attributed to CA, which My point is, I don't believe that the zoning regs deal with parking for open space. They've got parking for how many tenants and what the use of their teachers building and the other buildings are of how many parking spaces you need. Not to come to an event in the evening, which depend on the availability of the parking, which they can use the medical building garage, as Ginny knows, but they won't let you park at Whole Foods. So that's my point, that if Howard Hughes builds apartment buildings, where's the community gonna park?
Well, Joel, if you said at one point at the beginning of your discussion that CA would pay for parking, CA would, board and staff would be out of their bloody minds if they
I
paid.
didn't say pay for it. I said to convince the county council and Deb Young in particular that don't think of the parking as just for the library. It's part for the community to use the lake.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, but you
I
did
didn't say
actually,
that he has to pay for it. I just said that I don't see that with an existing lakefront that the regulations adequately deal with parking.
okay, I may have misunderstood or misheard what you said, but to me, it came across as CA would pay for parking, and that would drive me right up a wall, but.
I didn't say pay, I want to be attributed to that the cost of building a $40 million parking garage is not for the library, it's also for the lake.
But the point is, it's not in any way a penny should come from CA to residents. No way. That's.
I
a
didn't say
public-
that.
But wait, one last point. You do know right now that this has been true forever. Unfortunately, the way the whole thing was created, CA never had one public parking space down there, or nor did the public. So that's always been true, and Alan can correct me if I'm wrong. So therefore, we've always been fighting for where does the public park? I think the county may have to actually put up shuttle buses, et cetera. But whatever it is, the bottom line is we don't need that central library there. We could put it in the mall in Lord and Taylor's, maybe even do a mixed use type thing. Or we could be satisfied with the central library, which has been expanded, and maybe put a garage there that people can then walk to downtown. And the county can pay for that garage, by the way, for public parking. So I think Calvin Ball needs to come to the plate on this one. Okay, I won't monopolize the conversation.
All right, well, for this conversation, I wanted to hear how CA could protect their rights.
Does anyone have any thoughts on CA advocacy on this issue?
Okay, once more, I think the point, Alan, can you help me with this, is CA has no rights here. They've never had rights for public parking. They've never had it, and therefore, what are they protecting? What it is the county.
Jenny, it's
Wait,
to convince the
wait,
county
wait.
council to.
No, you're not talking about CA rights, because Alan, if I'm wrong, correct me.
You're
It's
right.
not CA rights, it's the fact that the public, which is not just Columbia again, it's from all over. If they want entertainment down there, whether it's county providing it or CA, it's free, then the county has to figure out how to do parking. Now, I would hope CA would have no problem with saying, hey, if we can't do it there, and this is Karen's idea, we're going to expand it into the villages. And you can come support your village merchants, like Kimco does, but they only do it for 7 villages. But we can do it for all of our villages, and therefore you're supporting your local merchants, and people can come there because of you love country western, or you love rock and roll, or in my opinion, you love Irish music and classical. But anyway, okay.
All right, but apparently the CA is getting state money to build the band shell thing. So, but then the people have to walk from somewhere else or take a shuttle bus. So
Well, hopefully, Joel, the county will see that. I mean, it's not rocket science what you're talking about. People need a place to park. We also, though, need to understand that part of the theory of redoing the downtown back in the 2000s, which we're in the midst of, was to make it more walkable and less drivable. So parking was supposed to be limited. And so that's going to have to be something we're going to have to pay attention to and figure out. But the county would be shooting itself in the foot, and the state would be to give us money, as you said, to build the new band, whatever you want to call it, band shell or whatever, but then not having a place way for people to get there. So we have to pay attention to it. But as I mean, Ginny's absolutely correct. It's not the CA has any rights to it. We just have to be paying attention to what's needed.
All right, but that's my point, and Alan Schneider tried to reframe it in the chat. My point is to help get parking rights in the parking garage in the library. So that's the discussion I wanted to have from CA's perspective.
Hopefully that would, I mean, that's always been part of it. Anytime there's been a building with parking, the office building after hours, the public would be able to use the parking.
But how many spaces, Joel, are you willing to sell your soul for in the library? So to spend tax dollars on something that really makes no sense. What, 50 spaces? Come on, you got hundreds of people that go down there. You're never going to get enough spaces. It has to be looked at comprehensively and the best way to serve the public for only, a small couple of months, couple of days a year. And this is done at concerts. People know how to do it. Maybe they can park at Meriwether Post Pavilion. I'm only kidding about that one. Never mind.
Thank you for the lively discussion here. And thank you to all of our candidates, all of the panelists, and all of you who came to learn about this important topic today. Yeah, we will share more information via email, as I said, and yeah, if you would like to get involved in any of these races, please do send us your interest. We'll get you connected to any of the candidates here. So thank you so much, and hope to be in touch with you all soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.